Nick Tandy, what a move. Truex on the outside, contact made. 56 slides it into 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even, give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Good evening and welcome to Darlington, South Carolina, the Lady in Black Darlington Raceway for tonight's NASCAR Class B Xfinity Series event on the very venerable Lady in Black. How will she dance tonight? Well, we're about ready to find out. Tony Stevens, Joe Cortez here along for the ride. And Joe, this one is going to be a dandy. 74 laps, pretty much 100 miles here on the 1.366 mile layout that is Darlington Raceway. And sometimes you joke about the eggshells here and putting the egg under the throttle. Well, step one for conquering the eggshell is just that, conquering the egg. Darlington's egg-shaped layout is going to be a tough one here this evening.
Egg-shaped paperclip, whatever you want to call it, Tony, this is arguably one of the most difficult tracks to tame in the entire circuit. Unlike some of the other tracks to go to, the cookie-cutter mile and a halves, the super speedways, the D-shaped ovals, the tri-ovals, this is an oblong shape that you don't see anywhere else on the circuit. So these drivers have to be on top of their game tonight if they want to try to woo the Lady in Black.
And that might mean a whole lot of playing is going on here tonight. And the first two drivers to take a stab at it are on the front row. The number 3 of Cody Bias and number 2 of Kenny Humpy make up row number 1.
Ray Alfalla and Keegan Lee will take up row number 2.
It's like a NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series light event here tonight. Ethan Lane and Ryan Lowe will be in the third row.
Todd Guerin and Trent Ringler will be right behind them in row number 4.
Alan Poves will pilot the number 5 machine with Brian Blackford in car number 6.
Behind them will be the 20 of Jeremy Bate Davis on the inside, Brian Ehrman in the 22 on the outside, or filling out position number 12.
Greg McKinney in the number 7 and Matthew Davis in the 15 will start 13th and 14th respectively.
15th belongs to the 8 of Jordan Worth. Brandon Schmidt, the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze driver, starts 16th.
Another NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series driver, Matt Busa in 17th, and Dalton England in 18th.
A regular in iRacing night, Nick Dissett will start position number 19, Blake Reynolds position number 20, and rounding out the field of 22 tonight are Peter Bennett and Jonathan Goki.
22 cars strong, that's how the splits all wound up. About, I believe it was 66 or 88 either way that signed up. But nonetheless, it's split out to 22 drivers per session. We are about ready to go green, Joe. This one should be fun. Tire management, a narrow racetrack, and a bunch of aggressive drivers trying to get laps in for next week's NASCAR, or check that, 2 weeks from now. We'll talk about that in a second. NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series event, and this one's going to be fun. Cody Bias leads it down with Kenny Humpy on the outside. Green flag in the air, and very quickly, they're off and running into turn number 1, and as we suspected, everybody gets single file before they hit turn number 1. The leader, Cody Bias, up the space, up the wide into the racetrack.
Single file, for the most part, through the field. Only 2-car battle was for about position number 9 and 10. As you saw Brian Blackford, Alan Bowes, and Todd Guerin battling for position. They go single file, and nobody wants to tempt fate early. Cody Bias continues to lead them, and nobody going to challenge him as they come around to complete circuit number 1.
First lap in the books, and very quickly, as you said, everybody's single file. Nobody wanting to try anything out of the ordinary. Greg McKinney just picked up one spot, the number 7, moved around Brian Ammerman. That was basically an out-braking maneuver, Joe. That's how you have to pass here at Darlington. You got to set them up coming off the corner, get position going into the corner. Pray they let you go, otherwise it makes for a very hairy few moments.
Harry is not how I describe the Lady in Black, but you know, whatever does it for you, Tony. Cody Bias, Kenny Humpy first and second. Now battle for third is Keegan Leahy and Ray Alfala almost side by side going through turns number 1 and 2. And Alfala's going to get it sideways, able to save it, but not before he bunches him up. Now he's got Ryan Lowe, Ethan Lade, and Trent Ringler all hunting for position.
This goes to show you how on edge you are here at Darlington. We're what, 2-3 laps into the race, and Ray Alfala's already got the rear end hanging out off of turn number 2, and that might mean a very, very long night for Ray Alfala. That, or maybe he's simply testing the waters as to how much he can hang that car out, but that car doesn't look very happy, Joe. He's not able to get it cut down on exit of turn number 2. He's not able to really do a whole lot with it. By the way, if you are an Ethan Lane fan, he is experiencing electrical issues. The field now working around him in turns 3 and 4. But Ray Alfala might be somebody to watch or somebody else to watch. No surprise, Kenny Humpy. He now takes over the point from Cody Bias and very quickly checks out by about 6-7 car lengths. Joe, this peaking machine might be on the charge once again.
So your points leader is going to come to the point here at Darlington. We're going to show that in the replay in the box in just a moment. We're taking a look at that right now. If you look at the corner of your screen, you'll see how that lead change played out. Cody Bias now in second, Keegan Lee in third. Ray Alfala moves his way up to fourth, and Ryan Lowe moves his way up to position number 5. Now the 7 and 20 doing battle for position. That's going to be the number 7 of Greg McKinney getting around Jerry B. Davis, and that will be for position number 10. So McKinney breaks in the top 10 for the first time tonight. Jeremy Davis is now on the outside looking in.
Looking for the last B-Class Series event we did, Davis had a great run at the Bristol Motor Speedway. Looking to replicate that here tonight at Darlington. And speaking of NASCAR Xfinity Series Class B racing, we get a double dose on double weeks. Small schedule change. Next week, we were originally scheduled to have the Peak Antifreeze Series here at Darlington. That has been overruled now. It'll be the NASCAR Xfinity Class B cars at Richmond this same time slot next week. And then the following week, we'll have the Peak Antifreeze Series at Darlington, followed immediately by the Peak Antifreeze Series of Chicago. So a double dose of each here on PSR TV and iRacing Live. And by the way, if you're a Todd Guerin fan in the 21, well, he just got the first noticeable Darlington stripe of the evening. He was up in the outside wall over in turns 3 and 4. And Ryan Blackford's got his hands full as well, Joe.
The 6 and 5 doing side by fourth. Now the 1 of Ray Alfala is still sideways coming out of turn number 4. Alfala almost bought the farm coming out of turn number 4, able to save it, but now here comes Brian Blackford on his rear end. So the 1, the 6, the 5, all trying to figure out how to tame Darlington. And Tony, they've got tonight and another week to figure it out, because when they go racing here in 2 weeks' time for the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, there is no dress rehearsal. Now here comes Greg McKinney on the inside. He might try to get some position. No. Check that. Not going to happen.
Of course, remember that's Brian Blackford, number 6. It's Ray Alfala's teammate at Slip Angle Motorsports, as we're looking at Ray Alfala and all the insanity that's happening back there. We've got Greg McKinney and others all throughout the racetrack. And, oh, man, as we said at the outset, this one's going to be hairy. Already has been. We're only 10 laps in, and guys, this reminds me of the old Darlington, and that's what I like. Guys are screaming for tires. They're all over the racetrack. They're slipping. They're sliding. It has become very quickly a tire management game, and makes you wonder, what does Kenny Humpy know, or maybe what is he trying to learn here tonight that nobody else does? Already, the leader of the Peak Antifreeze Series points is out by nearly a second and a quarter over Cody Bias and then Keegan Leahy. I'm starting to wonder if maybe as this run goes on, we might not see that fish line reel itself back in, Joe.
You know, you talk about tires, and talk about everyone screaming about tires. Tires aren't going to help anyone here. Tires are not going to be the key factor here. They will be later on in the race, but not right now. Right now, it's all about setup. How these guys have these cars set up, and what they can learn from tonight to apply in 2 weeks' time as you ride on board the 7 of Greg McKinney, as he looks stalking the 5 of Alan Bowes and the 1 of Ray Alfala. This is all about setup. This is all about strategy, and ultimately, it's about driver skill. You can have the greatest setup in the world, but if you don't know how to drive this track, Tony, there's not a thing that can help you.
No, you're exactly right, Joe. You've got to have the car dialed in. You've got the driver, for that matter, dialed in to be one with the track, basically. Oh, problems off turn number 4. as we saw McKinney get the spot on the 5. And it looks like around goes number 19 of Ethan Lane. He was having problems earlier, we documented. And looks like further problems now off turn number 4. It had the old hospital wobble going on, but unfortunately ends up going sideways here on the main straightaway. That'll put us under yellow with only 13 laps complete. Probably not as soon as everybody else would like to have seen that caution, Joe. They were already crying for new rubber.
Yeah, the 19 machine, take a look at what happened. He comes off turn number 4. He tries to get aggressive. He tries to get around that 22 of Brian Ammerman. However, the real estate just isn't there. Instead, he careens into the side of Ammerman, and that starts off a deadly wobble that the 19 just cannot recover from at all. So he will go sideways and around on the front stretch before causing everyone to scatter around him. Now brings out the yellow flag, and here's the most important thing. What are these guys going to do on their first available pit stop tonight?
Pretty simple, Joe. 4 tires and fuel. Shut the driver up because they are screaming for rubber right now. Kenny Humpy going to lead everybody down to the attention of their crews. And if anybody does anything goofy like 2 tires, it's going to be somebody in the back, like a Todd Guerin or a Dalton England or a Peter Bennett. Somebody that really has nothing to lose, that was way back from the leaders, to try to get some sort of track position and pray for a quick caution. And everybody again in. 5 off and 5 on the right side at a full tank of virtual Sunoco Racing fuel. No major adjustments seen on the leaders. Ray Alfalla might have made an air pressure adjustment. We'll find out on that one to see exactly how it plays out. Left side service is done for the leaders, and Kenny Humpy down and away as the top man. Second will be Keegan Leahy. Brian Blackford third quickest on the pit lane, followed by Ringler, Lowe, McKinney, Alfalla, Jeremy Davis, and a couple of guys having problems, including Cody Bias. Some sort of problem on the number 3, Joe. Not sure exactly what the issue is, but he is going to fall almost at the tail of the field.
So your pole sitter will fall towards at the back of the field as a result of that pit stop. I'm not exactly sure what exactly happened in that car. It's either they had some damage or they wanted to adjust literally everything on it. Nonetheless, he's going to go all the way nearly to the tail end of this field, and he's going to have a hard time trying to climb back up the ladder with such little time in this race.
Well, while they get everything sorted out scoring-wise and lineup-wise, we'll take a quick break here from Darlington, head over and grab ourselves, well, some piece of Southern cooking, probably some boiled peanuts. We'll be right back in just a little bit. You're watching the NASCAR Xfinity Series Class B cars live from Darlington here on iRacing Night. Welcome back to Darlington, and that didn't take very long, not a very long cleanup at all. We are back to racing, and very quickly, Kenny Humpy jumps out to the lead, and behind him, look at this, 2x2 from third on back. Brian Blackford moving forward. Great move up for the number 6 car. Last minute decision to run this race, and so far it's proven to be a very good decision. Oh, hello, watch out. Couple of cars sideways off turn number 2. They'll get it sorted out and back double file before they get to turns 3 and 4.
Almost 3 wide for a moment there. Jeremy B. Davis leading that group. Alan Bowes, Matt Busa, Brandon Schmidt, Brian Ammerman, Ethan Lane, all in that group that almost got 3 wide. Now they get a single pilot all the way through, and I don't think they're going to make that mistake again, because last time we went 2 wide, or tried to make an aggressive pass coming off that turn number 4, it didn't end well.
No, it really didn't. That's what Ethan Lane went through the spin cycle, but hey, used tires versus sticker tires here at Darlington, night and day. These guys feel like Superman right now. And oh, watch out, Ray Alfalla. Alfalla sideways again. Whatever issue they had in that last run, looks like maybe it either got aggravated or they didn't fix it. Now, mind you, he did have a little bit of help from Blake Reynolds to go around, but that car was already a handful there, Joe.
13 now having troubles on the field. That's going to be the 13 of Nick Doucette. Doucette is going to have to go all the way down to the apron to rescue that car. He'll find a way to make it work, but he's going to have to go all the way back to the tail end of the longest line as a result. So Doucette and Alpella in good company trailing this field.
I don't know if that's good company, Joe. You're in the tail of the field. That doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot as you look at Matt Bussa moving his way forward. Now up to the 9th spot is Matt Bussa. So slowly but surely, that Chevrolet going to work its way forward, or at least try to. And again, Joe, you don't pass a lot of cars at once here at Darlington. You pass one at a time, very methodically, very carefully, because this racetrack is not exactly wide. One false move, you can end up in the fence, and whoa, watch out. Ethan Lane just about went around again.
Ethan Lane almost went around again, but one guy who's not going to go around at all is Kenny Humvee. The only going around he's going to do is he's going to go around the track over and over again as he continues to lead on lap 21. All top 5 cars really all by themselves right now. Closest competitor is going to be the number 5 Alan Bowes, all the way back in 7th, but he's got quite a ways before he would get back to the field. 3.8 seconds are on him and the rest of the group.
Meanwhile, all this going on up front, Kenny Humvee continues to pull away. The gap now over a second. Back to Keegan Leahy, then Brian Black for another 3/4 of a second back, and he has got a full host of others right behind him, including Ringler, Lowe, McKinney, and then back to Alan Bowes, Blake Reynolds, and others. As now you see Trent Ringler and Ryan Lowe on the screen. That's right behind Blackford. This is a great battle, Joe, up towards the front of the field, kind of the middle or the end of the top 5, and suspected Brian Blackford may not be able to hold that spot when he came off pit lane. I've been proven wrong. That Ford is digging. He might have a shot at a solid podium run here tonight.
Anything's within the realm of possibility here at Darlington. Let's go check back now on 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Brian Blackford leading in that group. Trent Ringler, Ryan Lowe, Greg McKinney, all running single file, and those 4 cars are really starting to get a run over the rest of the field. If you look at it, Alan Bowes is the next car closest to him, but as they go through the long turns, you will see that they are almost half a track or a quarter of a track away between the tail end of Greg McKinney and the front end of Alan Bowes. Blake Reynolds, Matt Bussa with him as well, but they're going to have a hard time trying to track down your leaders right now.
And I'm really, again, amazed, Joe, that Kenny Humvee has been able to pull out to the lead that he has. Mind you, this racetrack is known to lull drivers into false senses of security, and this race is relatively short at just around 100 miles or 74 laps. But I'm kind of amazed that he's going to go ahead and pull out. I wonder, is his car that good, or is he simply trying to test what the cars can do and the tires can do before the Darlington race for the Peak Antifreeze Series in just a couple weeks' time?
Well, and that's what exactly this race here is. This is a test run to what they're going to do in 2 weeks' time when they go do it for the real event at the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. Remember, we've already had that drop week, and we only have 3 weeks left in the season. So whatever happens from this point on, that is on the permanent record of these drivers. There is no forgiveness. Either you get through and you put up a good number and you win, or you don't. There's really no in between.
You are exactly right, Joe. And here's the thing, though. With the new build coming, I almost wonder if it's even worth it. I mean, are these guys out here just for fun? Are they here to just have something to do? What's the strategy in this? Because with this new build, new physics package, whatever you want to call it, what value is there in running this race other than simply doing track time at the Lady in Black? I don't know what, if any, there is. In fact, looking at Kenny Humvee, he has clobbered the fence and bent the right front fender. And this battle for second on back, here goes Leahy moving over maybe to allow Brian Blackford to pass. And yes, he'll give Blackford the high lane, the preferred group. And surprising, again, to see some of these drivers being aggressive as they are. But Leahy, I think, realizes that maybe he doesn't want to run that pace just yet. He's going to allow Blackford now for second.
Well, Tony, yes, right there a minute ago, what are these guys going to learn? And yes, it is a brand new build. Sure, you'll have that. But whatever they do here tonight, whatever they learn about this track, however they learn how to drive this track, will have ramifications on how they drive in 2 weeks' time. Sure, it will be a new build. They'll have to get used to probably a new aero package, if you will. If you want to do a direct NASCAR correlation, they'll probably have to get used to a new aero package, new several other things. But that's no different than what they would face on the real track as well, as now the subbing of Greg McKinney is going to round Keegan Leahy, and Leahy will give up 4 positions total as a result of that exchange. So yes, these guys are out here for fun. These guys are out here to enjoy themselves in the iRacing sim, but more importantly to that, they are here to learn about this track, to learn how they can drive it, what they can and can't get away with. And I think if you're Ray Alfalla tonight, you're here to kind of see what you can do setup-wise when you're running in traffic. Because remember, Alfalla, in order to challenge Humpy, has got to get the best finishes he can between now and the end of the season.
You're right. Whoa! Hello, Blake Reynolds off turn 2. He just about cashed it in. Again, held on to it. And Joe, I'm seeing a trend here. After about 10 to 15 laps into a run, these cars are nearly undrivable loops. I mean, to the point that these guys are just about spinning out, if not spinning out, to try to hold on to them. Look at a driver like Ray Alfalla. Early had problems. He's clawed his way back to 17th. Not exactly a remarkable performance by Ray Alfalla, but again, this is a test, essentially. Blake Reynolds, like we just saw sideways. Keegan Leahy had it crossed up a little bit ago. So, I'm starting to wonder if this might not just be a test of anything and how much you want to hang one of these race cars out.
Well, the one guy who hasn't spun out, who hasn't done anything crazy, is the guy who's leading this race right now, Kenny Humpy, 33 laps in, and not even a problem. Now, as you look back at the deck off the deck of the 12 machine, you see just how much these guys are trying to struggle with these cars through this field. Jeremy Davis, you see him trying to struggle a little bit. I'm watching closely this group of 4 in 2nd through 6th right here. Brian Blackford, Trent Ringler, and Ryan Lowe almost had an interaction just a few moments ago. Did not happen, so they are still back running forward on the track. But again, this is exactly what you want. This is the race you want ahead of a big race in the NASCAR Big Antifree Series. This one gives you a chance to shake out all the gremlins, shake out the bugs in the car, figure out what you need to do to get it running correctly, and then if you do everything right, maybe, just maybe, you'll have a good night with the Lady in Black.
You could, but here's the thing, Joe. At the end of the night, 22 suitors are going to approach her. Only one's going to get lucky. And right now, Kenny Humpy is miles away from the field with the Lady in Black. And, not to make a bad euphemism right now, but he's starting to walk out the door, it looks like.
He's getting close. We're just about halfway there. A couple laps to being halfway there here at Darlington. And you're absolutely right. He is just taking off with the Lady, and they're heading the door early. Again, everything could change. I expect a little bit of yellow fever as you see the 10 now. That 10 machine belonging to Matt Busa. Try to fight Alan Bowes for what's going to be position number 6 on the field. The 10 still trying to dig, but not going to happen as the high line still wins again. Alan Bowes retains his position. Anything can happen, and I guarantee you there will be at least 1, probably 2, more accurately 3 yellow flags between now and then. And guess what? When you have those yellow flags and everyone figures out their setup, things are going to shift very quick.
Joe is calling for 3 yellows between now and the end of the race, which basically means this will become a race of sprint runs between now and the checkered flag. Shall it be right? Shall it be right? I don't know, but we'll mark Joe down for 3 yellows, total of 4 before this thing is said and done. And Joe, speaking of yellows, I continue to be cautioned at the pace that Kenny Humpy is running. A good 2 to 3 tenths, for the most part, faster than anybody else in the field. I don't know how long he can maintain this, but somehow he is.
Tony, I also called for 2 bourbons before the race is over, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I digress. Kenny Humpy, you're absolutely right. On a blistering pace right now. At the last time around the field, 6 seconds over the rest of the field. And I don't know, honestly, don't know what the fuel mileage is on these cars. But I've got a feeling that he may not have to come down pit road again. And if he can maintain 6 seconds over the rest of the field, you can count him. Just write him in for this race. Go ahead and pencil him in now. make you look yourself later.
Yeah, it's about like the championship trophy on the Peak Antifreeze Series side. Fire up the engraver. We're not going to, actually engrave it yet, but go ahead and plug it in, fire it up, and get the mock-ups done because it's just about to that point for Kenny Humpy. And that car has not slipped at all as you look further back. Greg McKinney battling with Trent Ringler, Brian Blackford, Ryan Lowe right there in the middle of that. Blackford actually has snuck ahead of that group slightly. And it's quickly become a 6-car race for the third spot with Ringler, McKinney, Lowe, and now Bose, Busa, and Bias catching up. And very impressed at Cody Bias, Joe. Remember, he started further back in the field after stopping the pit on that caution, fixing what damage he had, and making adjustments in that car. He's done a great job to drive himself up to the 8th spot and looking for more now as they work through turns 1 and 2.
Really now what you have is a race where everyone's fighting for the scraps as a 16 and 7 do battle, 16 and 4 make that as a 7 if Greg McKinney wastes no time getting around that 16 machine of Trent Ringler. Ryan Lowe won to piece as well, but couldn't make it work on the low side. Highline is the place to be, Tony, and you're absolutely right. The Highline is really the only lane you're going to make any passes on here at Darlington now or in 2 weeks for the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. Everyone here better get comfortable to riding that Highline around that track, because if they don't, they're going to find themselves moving backwards real quick.
Disagree to a small extent, Joe. Yes, there's less resistance, so to speak, at the top of the racetrack, but you can make a little bit of time on entry in turn 3 on the bottom, maybe getting around somebody on the bottom, but ultimately, yeah, that's about it. The primary groove is, well, it's not even on the top. It's really kind of a one-groove deal where you run in low, you end up going high and cut back down low on both ends. So to pass somebody here is a real chore. You use up a lot of time, burn up a lot of racetrack, and that's one reason I think we see so many drivers just once a driver has position on them, back off, give up the spot on the straightaway, and go back at it, because running side by side here is so detrimental to progress.
Yes, you're absolutely right. It is very detrimental to progress. Progress is a slow process, but you don't have a whole lot of time when you're here on the track and you're here doing everything you can to dig around and keep moving forward around these cars. We're over halfway done, Tony, and guess what? If you're not going to start moving, it ain't going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, you've got to get digging if you're going to be going anywhere, Joe. No question about it. Now 30 laps to go as the leaders cross the stripe. And around goes Ryan Lowe by Trent Ringler. Smooth right. Oh, and caution is out. We have got problems here off of turn number 2. Is Todd Guerin that has gone around in his Chevrolet Camaro right as the leaders were approaching him. And again, Joe, back to how slippery this racetrack is, and almost an exact clone of what happened earlier from the 19 of Ethan Lane. Didn't really make contact, but got it out of shape, and that brings out the second caution of the night. You've got 2 to go until you're right with your prognostication there.
And I've also got 2 bourbons to go, so let's see how that treats me. Todd Guerin, you're absolutely right. Again, he makes the same exact mistake. He just gets too aggressive on the turn, and that is his downfall as he tries to dig, and it just doesn't happen.
So here we go with wholesale pit stops. Kenny Humpy. I almost want to say Ray Alfala because he's in the number 2. That's a whole different story, and we can explain that a little bit later if need be. But it is Kenny Humpy tonight in the number 2, not Ray Alfala. But Humpy is down on pit lane, as is everybody else on the lead lap, expecting 4 tires, fuel, and more than likely damage repair. For everybody else, one other exception stayed out, Keegan Leahy. Not sure what happened there. He probably missed pit road. That's very uncharacteristic. But Humpy is in. Right side service is starting. It'll be left side tires for the number 2, and we anticipate the same, Joe, for everyone else. The question is, will they attend to the damage on the right side of that Chevrolet? The answer is no. He will be down and away and retain the lead. Will Kenny Humpy. So it looks like he could be the one to continue to set the pace here at the Lady in Black.
So Humpy will be first off, followed by Brian Blackford, Greg McKinney, Matt Busa, Alan Bose, your top 5. It'll be Trent Ringler, and I believe it will be Cody Bias coming out position number 7. Brian Ammerman, Ray Alfala, and Jordan Worth rounding out your top 10. You mentioned the damage being taken care of there. Tony, I don't think they're really going to need a whole lot of damage repaired on these cars because as you look at this track, it's not a very big track. It's not a very long track around here. It's not even a mile and a half. Aero isn't a big deal here. You can pass on the outside without trying to struggle and try to fight it there. So I don't think they need to worry about the damage as much because it's not that big a deal.
Well, Joe, we'll see how all of that works in this card game. Humpy leads with less than 30 laps to go. We'll take a break here at Darlington and be back on iRacing Night here on Fans Choice. Welcome back to Darlington. It will be 25 laps to go when we go back green to completion of lap number 49. Kenny Humpy and Brian Blackford will be on the front row. It's Greg McKinney, Matt Busa, Alan Bowes, and Trent Ringler. 3 out of the top 6 are NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series regulars. 7th spot also falls into that category, as does 9th position Ray Alfala. So this kind of has that feel of an Xfinity Series race, Joe. You have the veterans in the field, and you have some of the newcomers trying to crack that top series here on iRacing. And so far, the veterans are winning.
As well, the veterans should. They are the ones who do this semi-professionally, if you will. They are the ones who have teams who are dedicated to this week in and week out. And more importantly, they're the ones competing for $10,000 at the end of the season. Green flag about to go in the air once again, and Kenny Humpy wastes no time getting these guys restarted here at Darlington, back on point, and now it's a battle for second as the 7 and looks like the 6 of Brian Blackford do battle for position number 2. Blackford will pick up that position, but Greg McKinney isn't going anywhere anytime soon, at least not if Matt Booth has something to say about it.
Exactly right. Matt Booth is going to put the pressure on the number 7 of Greg McKinney, back to the 3rd spot. Now Blackford, clear of the 7 of McKinney, may have a chance to reel in Kenny Humpy. We will see how it all works out in the next couple of laps, but Humpy seems to already be stretching it out slightly last time by. About 0.2 of a second the difference between Humpy and Blackford. Even with the damage that Kenny Humpy incurred on the about a third of the way through this race, about 25 laps ago, that car seems to be relatively unstoppable right up against the outside safer barrier and continuing, yes, to expand that lead over Brian Blackford. I'm starting to think, Joe, that nobody has anything for that number 2 car here this evening.
That's what scares me a little bit because if Kenny Humpy can replicate this exact scenario in 2 weeks' time, if he can replicate this exact same scenario in 2 weeks' time, then the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series is over.
Well, you got to remember, Joe, we did the math last week. In the next 3 races, he has to earn 35 points, I think it was, to win the championship. 35 points over 3 races. Not impossible, not very hard. It can be impossible. You can have 3 bad races in a row, but it's almost a done deal for Kenny Humpy. By the way, if you're a Ryan Lowe fan, he just experienced some issues off turn 4 here on the front straightaway, and that will bring out the caution for the number 4 of Ryan Lowe. So, Joe, your speculation of 3 more cautions earlier, 2/3 of the way there. Also catching a piece of that for the second time tonight with Ethan Lane. It's like Darlington is not being his friend. He just got slapped a couple times by the lady, I think.
That's what you get for being a little aggressive with her here at Darlington. Let's start with the first incident that brought that yellow flag out. It's really the 19 of Ryan Lowe, and again, just a carbon copy of what brought the first 2 yellow flags here, Tony. He tried to get aggressive on that low side, coming off of the turn. You can't do that. You just can't do that at Darlington. It didn't work the first 2 times. I don't know what Ryan Lowe thought would make it work the 3rd time, but unfortunately for Ryan Lowe, instead of being able to rescue it, that car just goes nose first into the safer barrier on that inside wall, and he will spin out, and that will bring out our caution flag. And then there was another incident as well that added onto it as pit road gets a little bit busy for some of the guys further back in the field.
Yes, so early in the run, I don't expect to see any of the leaders, but yes, everybody back from about 12th on back or so is on pit road. They've got nothing to lose. Among them, Keegan Leahy, who I'm still trying to figure out what happened on the last round of stops, where he stayed out on the first lap and then came back down pit lane. Very uncharacteristic move for him, but he is in for service, as are a few others. That's from about 15th spot on back, so we'll keep an eye on them to see how it all pans out. But up front, Kenny Humpy, I'm starting to wonder, Joe, like you said, does this pretty much stamp the trophy for Kenny Humpy? Because all of his competition is watching this race going, wow, we are nowhere near that good. Mind you, it's a different car. In 2 weeks' time, we'll have a completely different set of rules, basically. But one thing has been consistent all year. Kenny Humpy has been good no matter what rules package we have, and tonight seems to reinforce that fact.
Well, this is a dress rehearsal for Kenny Humpy here at Darlington, and this is very much a dress rehearsal for the team as well. If you look at the entire group, Kenny Humpy, Cody Bias, both team members are on track for that group tonight, and I think whatever they learn here, they will take back to that group, and they will say, all right, here's what we learned, here's how we can improve, and here's how we can make sure we have a great run by the end of the night. And yes, Kenny Humpy needs to have a great showing out here tonight for 2 reasons. Number one, it's psychological, as you mentioned there a second ago, Tony. It's absolutely psychological. If he has a good run tonight, everyone's going to look at him and say, wow, do we have anything to beat that? And the answer may be no, because they're too busy overthinking it at the end of the day. Number 2 to that, the thing is, Kenny Humpy needs to continue to have this great run, because if he has a good run tonight and he can capitalize again in 2 weeks' time, even after the new build, then yes, the trophy stamp, write the check, it's over. Kenny Humpy will be your champion. It will be locked, sealed, done, whatever you want, whatever euphemism you want to use. Kenny Humpy may be $10,000 richer after Darlington in 2 weeks' time.
And that 35-point mark that we spoke of, Joe, is assuming that Ray Alfala gets maximum points in every single race. If Ray Alfala finishes 5th even, it might as well be over in certain cases. So I think there's more pressure easily on Ray Alfala than there is Kenny Humpy coming into that. But by the same token, is there any pressure on Kenny Humpy? I think he realizes the sizable advantage he has, and sometimes when you tell drivers you have no pressure, just go have fun, that's when the speed really comes out.
You're absolutely right, and that's when you're not thinking about the racing, when you're not thinking about the competition itself, when you're just out there having fun, enjoying yourself on the track. All of a sudden, 4th turns to 2nd, 2nd turns to the 1st, and then 1st turns to a checker flag. And that changes the complexion of everything, as it seems to do every so often here in the NASCAR Big Antifreeze Series. Lights are off. Pace car everyone's going to double up, and pace car's going to take them around one more time here as we get ready to go green flag racing from Darlington. Kenny Humpy still continues to lead this group with less than 20 to go.
In fact, it's 17 laps to go once we go back green. Plenty of time for that Joe Cortez predicted 4th caution flag of the evening. The way we've seen these things go so far tonight, that wouldn't surprise me if, in fact, it does end up being displayed from the start of the stand. Pace car is off, and once again, Humpy on the jump, and look at Black. Oh, here it is! Big trouble. Turn number 1 is major catastrophe. Keegan Leahy is in it, as are numerous others, and somehow everybody pulls away for the most part. But Joe, A, there's your 4th caution, and B, blocking at Darlington doesn't work out very well.
And they say the big one only happens in super speedways. Well, no, kids, they don't. You saw it here first. The big one can happen anywhere, and that was an absolute big one. It starts with the 7, who tries to throw the aggressive block going into turn number 1, because that high line is the place to pass right there. The 10 cars on the high lines get the momentum. Once get around the 7 car, 7 car says, "I don't think so." The only problem is he says, "I don't think so," to pretty much the entire field. At that point, it's easier to say who wasn't involved in that incident than try to pick out all the cars who got a piece of that one, because basically everyone from about 5th on back, they're going to come down to pit road because they got some issue from that yellow flag, either a flat spot on the tire or a little nose damage or some wall damage or some damage on the side of the wall. They're all going to have to come down and get something fixed.
And in the case of Matt Busa, it might be his temper. Overhearing some radio chatter, he wasn't very happy and didn't have the greatest things to say towards the 7 car of Greg McKinney. But, you know, sometimes that's big-time auto racing. Alan Bowes, not very happy either. He basically felt he did the right thing, and unfortunately for Alan Bowes, things didn't work out well behind him. I guess the good thing for Bowes, though, is he did seem to get through it. He is up to 3rd, so Bowes may be on track for a possible solid run here again tonight on iRacing Night. And he's been a name we've talked about a lot here in the Xfinity cars, Joe. Not as much in the Peaky Antifreeze Series side. He did steal a win earlier this season, but that confidence has been building and building here in the Xfinity cars, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him become a regular contender next season in the Peaky Antifreeze Series.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. And, you know, the 2016 season is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a blast seeing who can dethrone Kenny Humpy from the top of the hill, assuming that he does end up at the top of the pinnacle at the end of the season. And if you want to get involved, we've got a great promotion for you. Go to iRacing.com, put in our promo code. You see that at the bottom of the screen, 2015-PSRTV. If you buy 1 month of iRacing for new subscribers, we'll give you 2 free and throw in the late model as well, so you can get accustomed to oval racing. And you never know, in a couple years' time, with some dedication and a little bit of patience, you could see yourself right here on PSR TV racing for $10,000 from the comfort of your own home, as my good friend Nim Cross would say, in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com. If you're a new subscriber, want to try to get the iRacing for yourself, go to their website, sign up, use our promo code, again, at the bottom of your screen there, 2015-PSR TV. Buy 1 month, we'll give you 2 free, and the late model as well. Tony, it's not a bad deal.
No, it's not a bad deal at all. So we encourage you to give it a shot if you've never done so. They've got all kinds of new platforms that are supported in the last few years, and all kinds of promotions, more cars, more tracks than ever before. By far the premier simulation service. And if you want to get into racing and feel what it's really like, iRacing is it. And tell you what, even if you'd rather race a physical car, trust me, iRacing is the best training ground before you go spend a bunch of money on the physical car, because guess what? It doesn't cost you any money to hit the reset button in iRacing. Whereas in a real car, Joe, you have a boo-boo, it's usually a boo-boo on the wallet.
And that's absolutely right. You can wreck as much virtual sheet metal as you want here and not have to pay any more than the quarterly or monthly or yearly fee that you pay to iRacing. You can destroy as many cars as you want. You can do whatever you want. Learn as much as you can in this series. And guess what? It all costs the same every month, every quarter, or every year.
That it does, and very affordable for that matter. Only a few bucks a month. I mean, it's literally like going to Starbucks a couple times a month and cutting it out. That's about all the difference is for iRacing, and a lot more entertaining than a cup of coffee. I'm slightly partial, but I'd much rather race than stare at a cup of coffee. Just saying.
It's a tough choice for me, my friend.
Or in your case, Joe, bourbon.
Okay, now we're talking. Yellow flag, green flag about to fly as a pace car heads down pit road, and it's going to be Kenny Humpy leading once again. Brian Blackford, Alan Bowes side by side, another big one brewing. possibly as they go. 16 now in
Oh,
the
here we
wall,
go.
and more trouble in the back of the field. Yellow flag out again, and my prognostication has been defeated.
Yeah, but not for the reason we thought, Joe. That's the 5th flag of the race. And that all started right up there with the number 12 car of Dalton England, who kind of got put in the outside wall with Brandon Schmidt underneath him, and then Keegan Leahy behind him, along with the 18 of Jonathan Goki. They made contact. Leahy ended up in the fence, and along came the 17 car of Peter Bennett that made contact. They both spun, and it was Calamity Corner once again with 3 or 4 of the same drivers who were involved in the last yellow flag, catching a piece of this one. It has certainly been the tale of 2 races tonight, Joe.
It has been a tale of the haves and have-nots, or the tale of 2 halves of 2 races. More accurately, is you saw an incredible run in the beginning with a great green flag run, everyone running very clean throughout the field. Now you're seeing yellow after yellow after yellow. Yellow fever is in the air here tonight, and I don't think it's going to get any easier.
Well, the one thing that's going to get easier, Joe, there's less laps. So if the caution comes out again, this race is more than likely finito. That's how close to the end we are. Lap 64 now goes on the board. 10 laps to go. And I'm starting to wonder if you're Brian Blackburn here, you jump the restart, you try to do something to get around Kenny Humphrey, because I'm thinking that's going to be your only shot at the win here tonight.
I think you're absolutely right there, and it's really, again, I think this is just mind games for Kenny Humvee in that peak antifreeze car. I think that he is, at this point, just trying to psych everyone out, saying, I've got the better car, and in 2 weeks' time, I'll still have the better car. So if you have any envisions of trying to take away that win for me to solidify the season, not so fast.
So we're only moments away from figuring all that out, and again, more radio chatter we have heard and come across. Alan Bowes, a little bit of humor in the most recent yellow, something along the lines of this might get a little crazy. We might be saying RIP to a few race cars. Well then, interesting. Let's take a quick break here on iRacing Night on Fans Choice and PSR TV. We'll be back with the conclusion the NASCAR Xfinity Series B-Class race here at Darlington in just a minute.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing.com, has officially begun.
Welcome back to Darlington as the field works their way off of turn number 4, the wide end of the egg here at Darlington. Joe, it seems like every time we come here we have some fun trivia, and some people may not know this. You know why Darlington is shaped the way it is?
I do not. Please educate me.
Well, they built the track. One of the conditions was they kept the fish pond outside of what's now turn number 4 intact. So in order to do that, they had to make one end a little narrower than the other. Now, mind you, that fish pond may not be there now, but that's a whole different story. But here we go. One more time with a handful of laps to go. Just 7 circuits remaining. Humpy, Blackford, and others across the stripe. It's about ready to get real. Behind them, Alan Bose and Cody Bias at it side by side. The top 5, all NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series regulars. And goes to show you just how much experience means here at the Lady in Black. And they're sideways all throughout the field behind them in 10th on back. Getting really ugly. But look at Blackford. First challenge we've really seen on Kenny Humpy all day long.
Yellow flag back out on the field once again, and it looks like it's going to be back towards the letters of the field. It's going to be the 15 and the 20 involved in that one. The 20 of Jeremy Davis, the 15 machine. That 15 belongs to Matthew Davis. It looks like a couple other cars involved in that one as well. The 17, the 10, the 19, all got a piece of that one as well. And it's not going to be enough to end it, but it's going to make it a very close finish.
3 wide and turn 3 doesn't work very well, gentlemen. And Joe, that was almost 2 completely separate crashes. The number 20 car of Jeremy B. Davis, he got sideways right behind that group, trying to cut through the middle of Matt Busa and the 17 of Peter Bennett. He hung onto it, and about that time, the 18 car of Goki ended up getting into the number 15 of Matthew Davis, and that shot them up the hill. Also catching a piece of it was Lowe, Lane, and everybody just piled in. Somehow Matt Busa got woed down quick enough, but starting to think the lap count and the sensibility levels are having an inverse relationship here tonight.
It could be a green-white checkered finish, or at the very least, a white checkered finish. You're in Darlington. Those are the worst-case scenarios. Best-case scenarios, we'll have a couple of extra laps to race, but with only 74 laps in this feature tonight, I think it's going to be a very, very tight finish, and if a yellow flag comes out, they will race back to the line, and that will be it. That will be the end of the race, and the game is over.
And I'm starting to wonder if Brian Blackford might not have found something on Kenny Humpy or vice versa. That was probably one of the closest restarts we have seen all night. Nobody's really had a chance to get to the number 2 car, but Blackford almost had a shot there, Joe. And if he times it right this time, we might have Brian Blackford stealing one.
Let's not go that far. I think he's got a great opportunity. I think Kenny Humpy's got a great opportunity, but Kenny Humpy's just been so dominant, especially on the restarts. Humpy is going to get my pick to win this race, and I've got a feeling he's going to win so in decidedly strong fashion.
So you're picking Humpy. I'm not going against Humpy, but I'm also not picking Kenny Humpy, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Looks like we'll get the green at the conclusion of lap number 72. So even though it'll be the advertised distance, it will essentially be a green-white checker finish. Show 2 laps to settle it. How long can you hold your breath?
That's a very good question, actually. I've never thought about it.
Have a try right now.
Okay. Time me.
Go. Everybody hear that? That is the sound of brilliance. Right there. Maybe not. Anyway. Joe, you still with us? Well, in that case, it's just me to finish this one because Joe will suffocate before we hit the checker flag. Please send all condolences to @JoeCortez on Twitter for his holding the breath stunt live here on air tonight.
You can send condolences for a much different reason we'll get into at a later race. Meanwhile, Kenny Humpy set to get these guys back to green flag racing in just a moment's time. They are back to the start and finish line. Lights are off. One more to go, and Humpy Blackford will restart this race in just 1 lap, and it will be a 2-lap dash for the cash.
I'm wondering, does Blackford get into Humpy here? There's not a whole lot on the line. Yeah, there's some iRating and safety rating on the line, all this other fun stuff, but
no.
Ultimately, it's only pride. Does Blackford maybe play a little dirty?
No, you
You
won't.
keep saying no. Why?
Because he's too smart to do that. Yes, it's pride. Yes, there's some I-rating, but as we've seen before, iRacing has set a precedent. If you behave poorly and you are one of our marquee drivers, we will know about it, and you will know that we're always watching.
Laying the bumper to somebody who's
iRacing
behaving
has set
poorly?
the precedent. And guess what? If he is found deliberately doing anything that could compromise Kenny Humpy, or other way around, if Kenny Humpy compromises Brian Blackford, it would not surprise me if we have a surprise appearance of the Little Red Trailer.
We'll see how it works out. Green flag is out, and Humpy very quickly on the gas pedal. He really is mixing up those starts to give Brian Blackford all the headache in the world off the turn number 1, and Blackford drives in deep into the 23-degree banks of turns 1 and 2, and Humpy, that car just rotates like it is on a string. That is how well it turns around the corner. So Blackford pulling away from third. Behind them, they are side by side, and they are nearly bumper to bumper. Ray Alfala in the middle of that. Where did he come from, Joe? Ray Alfala has been up and down. We've got cars everywhere over in turns 3 and 4, but we are still green. White flag in the air for Kenny Humpy.
Gonna let him race one more time as Humpy continues to run on first, Brian Blackford second, and now it's a battle for third, fourth, and fifth and behind. Cody Bice, Alan Bowes, Blake Reynolds, third, fourth, and fifth, and now Ray Alfala trying to get one last run. Not gonna happen. He's gonna be stuck behind that traffic, and it will be the number 2 of Kenny Humpy walking away with position number 1. Brian Blackford second, Cody Bice, Alan Bowes, and Ray Alfala finds a way to pick up 5th.
So Kenny Humpy continues his winning ways here on iRacing Night and PSR TV. It's been a while since we've seen him in victory lane, but there's probably a reason for that. And Alan Bowes all sideways coming back to pit lane, apparently not happy with something that transpired in the final lap. And Joe, very quickly, just look at these cars as they try to drift through the apron of turns 3 and 4. Shows you just how little grip there really is here at Darlington. These guys can drift those cars that easily through that big, vast openness that is the apron of turns 3 and 4. Nonetheless, we'll be back in just a little bit to talk to the top finishers and cap off tonight's showing of iRacing Night here on PSR TV, iRacing Live, and Fans Choice.
Truex in the outside, contact made. 56 slides it into 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even. Give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Welcome back to Darlington, where the record is repeating itself. Kenny Humpy wins. Kenny Humpy wins. Kenny Humpy wins. Kenny Humpy wins. Sorry, we had it on repeat, but we couldn't tell the difference there. Humpy wins in a Darlington over Blackford, Bias, Pose, and Al Fallon, an all-peak antifreeze series top 5. Once again, showing the veterans, well, they know how to get around Darlington. There's a reason they have made their way to the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. And I think Joe Cortez has caught up with the guy on top of that heap, Kenny Humpy. Joe?
Kenny Humpy walks away with another win here on iRacing Night on PSR TV and all of our affiliates. So, Kenny, I got to ask you this real quick. Is this a dress rehearsal for what we're going to see in 2 weeks' time?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Just trying to get familiar with the lines and stuff because Darlington's lines are a little bit different than you're, normally accustomed to at most tracks. So it's just trying to get a feel and trying to stay out of that wall as much as you can, and that's pretty much the biggest thing here. But definitely can learn stuff from here, and glad to be able to race here on the iRacing Night here on PSR TV.
Two different cars, though. The Class B Xfinity style car, totally different than the Sprint Cup car. What did you learn tonight that you and the team will take back to the shop and figure out what to do with the Sprint Cup cars in 2 weeks' time?
Not a lot setup-wise or anything like that. It's more of a driver thing, just, finding marks, things that you can do different throughout a race. Trying to pass people is a little tough here, so just trying to figure out where you can get runs on people and, try to pass them. And that's the biggest thing, really, is just trying to get familiar with it. And, we'll have a new build for the peak antifreeze race in 2 weeks, so it'll be different, a lot different probably, but just to get familiar with the track is the biggest thing, and I can't thank Cody and Jared Crawford enough for making the setup here for tonight, and it was really fast, and got to thank those guys.
You actually beat me to my next question. New build comes out next week. How concerned are you with it?
Pretty concerned. I felt like we had something made pretty good for the race that was supposed to be next Tuesday, but they moved it back. So we'll have a week to build something even better, and hopefully, all the guys on the team can come together and we can get the Peak Chevy up front and hopefully win in 2 weeks' time.
Final question, 2 weeks' time. I want you to call the shot now. Are we going to see a NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series champion in 2 weeks?
Well, I sure hope so. I think we have a really good shot at it. I think we need 35 points or something to lock it up, and the way we've been running all year and with the consistency we've shown, I think we can get it done. Even if it doesn't, though, we'll go on to Chicagoland, and there's still 2 races to go afterwards. So still trying to get more wins. That's what it's all about, going for wins after that. If we do lock it up either way, you still got to go out there and race. So hopefully we can get it done next week. But it all comes down to how Ray runs and how we can stay on track and not hit the wall too hard in that 183 laps there 2 weeks from now.
You heard it here first. Kenny Humpy looking to lock it up in 2 weeks' time with another win and then at Darlington, except in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series next time around. Tony Stevens caught up with our second-place finisher, Brian Blackford.
Very pleasant surprise from Brian Blackford tonight in the number 6 Ford. And Brian, talked to you this afternoon briefly. Kind of a last-minute decision to hop on the track here at Darlington, but looks like you made the best of it. What did you learn for the Peak Antifreeze Series race in 2 weeks' time?
Oh, well, keep it out of the wall. Of course, that's what you do at Darlington. But learned a lot, just how the track, works and what's changed, and just getting the feel for racing around other cars. And the Class B car is actually quite a bit different from the Cup car, so there's not a whole lot setup-wise you can take over. But I actually decided to run 2 or 3 hours before the race, and once I learned that the peak race was rescheduled, I figured, instead of testing for that, which we probably can't because we have a new build, I'll just run this race and we put together a setup. I actually put together the setup from the fixed setup in a couple hours, and that's the best I could do. It wasn't too fast. It was pretty tight, but I was able to make some adjustments and got it a little bit better, and surprisingly pulled off second. That was pretty cool.
And it certainly was very impressive from where we were at, for that matter. as far as the end of the race goes, was there anything you could have done with Kenny on the restarts? Did you think about laying the bumper to him if you could have gotten to him, or was it simply a matter of he was too fast?
Oh, he was really fast. I mean, he was 2/10 a lap quicker than me after a couple laps. So my only shot was the restart, and I figured if I could stick to his outside through 1 and 2, I might be able to clear him off turn 2. And I had my shot there a couple times, but just didn't work out. If I was close enough, I was considering just running 3 and 4 wide open and just getting in front of him and hitting the wall, kind of like a Carl Edwards deal. But I wasn't anywhere near close enough on the last lap to make that work. So I had a lot of fun, and hope to do it again sometime soon.
Well, maybe that shot will be in 1 week's time when we're at the Chicagoland the Richmond International Raceway, or, of course, the Peak Antifreeze Series at Darlington. Brian, congratulations on a solid second-place run. And I believe Joe was caught up with the guy in the third spot. Joe?
Can I thank my sponsors real quick?
Go ahead while you're there, sure.
Oh, sorry guys. I just got to thank Brandon Wright. He came out last minute to spot for me. Ray Alfala, Lisa Pineda, Brandon Schmidt for all cheering me on. Phoenix Society, Wendell Scott Foundation, Vision of Flight, Snow Cone Productions, and of course Slip Angle Motorsports and Last Row Motorsports for all their support, and iRacing and NASCAR for putting this together, and of course you guys for putting this together and letting me get in my sponsors. I would have felt horrendous if I didn't get that in, so thank you very much for letting me do that.
And the sponsors appreciate your patronage, I'm sure. Brian Blackford finishing second here tonight at Darlington. Cody Bias, another member of the team, finishing third. And Cody, we heard it from Kenny tonight. It's kind of a test run for you and the team. What did you learn that you're going to take back to the team?
The main thing I learned is just to be patient early on. The setups are a little bit more similar than they had been in a few weeks between the two series. Other than that, I mean, I just learned to not make as many mistakes. I haven't ran that many races this season, and it's definitely showed with, I've been a little bit rusty. It's been a little bit of a rough year over on the peak side, and I came over here tonight just to try to get some more seat time to get a feel for what the car's going to do over the run. And on that aspect, I definitely learned quite a bit what the car's going to do over the run, because the Cup car is kind of similar of what it's going to be doing after about 20-25 laps. But at the same time, in about 2 weeks, when we get the new build, it's going to be a whole new ball game. I'm not sure what to expect at that point.
You qualified first in happy hour. You were second fastest. Where was the disconnect for you in the car? Was it seat time? Was it that shaking off that rust a little bit? Where do you feel like there was that little bit of disconnect, if you will?
Well, to be honest, I was gonna let Kenny go 3 or 4 laps into it and just ride behind him. But I think I got into the wall around on lap 3 or 4, and it pushed in the right front pretty good. And then when we had that first yellow, I sped on pit road and threw him back to like 20th, and I dig out of that hole, and it was just a long night. It's just the car got beat up, and just if I would have stayed a little bit more patient to start, I really felt like I could have been up there in the top 2 with Kenny. But yeah, I just abused the car all night, and it was just driver error from the start.
New build comes out in 2 weeks' time. Good news is you have a week to kind of figure out what you want to do with it, but how much does it scare you between now and then?
Oh, it scares me because no one really knows what to expect with everything that's going to be released. So we have to go in with an open mind and just a lot of hard work, and hopefully we can keep our team on top and keep getting results we know we're all capable of.
Cody Bias finishing third here tonight at Darlington, looking to improve on that in 2 weeks' time. And Tony Stevens caught up with our fourth-place finisher, driver of the number 5 machine, Alan Bowes.
Hopefully we can get all the technology working with Alan Bowes down here, having some issues. But Alan, another solid run in the Xfinity Series car here tonight, nearly a shot at victory. Another top 5, though, for sure. When do we see you being this consistent on the Peak Antifreeze Series side?
Oh, I don't know. It'd be great if it was every week or just at least top 10s, but I don't know. I just never seem to be able to get the luck in the Peak Series. But tonight was a good night. The car wasn't as good as I'd liked it to be, but I got to thank John Dragonetti. He stuck with us through a lot of hard times, and it's really nice to keep a sponsor on the car, even though we've had a bad season. I got to thank RAR Chevette and CFI as well. Again, they've been really supportive through this season. It's had its ups and downs, but You know, we just got to keep fighting. That's pretty much our motto right now.
They did a solid job of fighting. And how much does this experience in the Xfinity car help you for the Peak Antifreeze Series season? Is it simply a matter of confidence more than anything, or what will it take to actually get you boosted up to that point?
Well, this series definitely helps with confidence. Racing against guys like tonight with Ray, Blackford, Humpy, Bias. You know, those guys, they've made a name for themselves being really fast. So to be able to come up here and run with them, it was a really good night for me, just confidence-wise. You know, we're definitely gonna have to put a lot of work into the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series setup. But I'm sure Dustin Lingard and Houston Hamer will get that all settled out for us, and we should be pretty fast.
That's Alan Bowes finishing 4th here tonight at Darlington, and Joe Cortez has found the guy that probably passed more cars than anyone tonight, Ray Alfala.
Ray Alfala had a slip up early in the race, but finds a way to finish 5th here at Darlington. Ray, I'm going to ask you this first and foremost. What happened at the beginning of the race?
Oh, which time?
Let's start with a time you slid backwards and had to effectively restart from the tail end of the field.
Yeah, that was on the restart into turn 3. My screen shut off, so I just kind of braked and cut the wheel left and hope that I didn't wreck. And unfortunately, the yellow didn't come out for that, and it came out way later. But it did come out eventually, and we were able to get new tires and get back to the front there.
Nonetheless, it looked like the number 1 machine was running loose all night long. Thoughts on your car in Darlington tonight?
Yeah, I got to thank Alan Bowes for the setup help. As Brian said, we kind of decided to run a couple hours before the race since our Peak Series race got moved back a week. So we were like, hey, it's Darlington, and let's run this race. And Alan hooked us up with a setup. I think Brian decided to run what he had been working on. I decided to kind of go with Alan's setup, and I ended up loosening the setup up too much. It was pretty evident early in the race, but it made for some pretty fun moments. And it was I guess you could say the slip angle on the right rear tire was a little too much there. But it's typical Darlington. At the end of the race, everybody just kind of starts crashing, and if you're not involved in a wreck too bad, you're able to get off to a good finish. And we were involved in a little bit of a scuffle in turn 1, avoiding a crash, but we came home 5th, so that's a pretty good run. Both of us, both slip angle drivers in the top 5.
What's it going to take, now that you've run this race, what's it going to take you to get the number 2 machine next week in the top 5 again?
Well, it's the Cup car drive is completely different, and we have a new build coming with I believe a new tire and just a complete different thing. And so tonight was more just to get used to racing again on the track. I haven't raced at Darlington probably in probably a year or several months. So just getting back to the racecraft of racing here, which is pretty similar in just about any car that you drive. So, it was pretty cool. We had quite a few people on TeamSpeak. I had Lisa watching the broadcast. I had Brendan Wright spotting. Brendan Schmidt showed up kind of last minute, wanted to run the race as well. So it was a pretty eventful. I mean, for 74 laps, I thought that was a lot of action in that race.
Definitely a lot of action in the race. Definitely a fun race to watch. But more importantly, 2 weeks' time, everything gets thrown out the window because we have a new build coming out in the next week. How much does that concern you? And is there anything you can do now to prepare for that build coming out?
It doesn't concern me. I'm very excited about it. The whole dynamic tracks / V6 tire model, and I've been wanting to get away from the static tracks for a really long time, and this is if this works as intended, it will be one of the biggest things that sim racing has ever had, in my opinion. And even if there's some bugs along the way, it's still, I think, better than not having a dynamic surface and not having more variables, because real life racing is a lot about variables. And now that we're going to get to have that in the simulation. I think the racing is going to be a whole lot more fun, just being able to pick different grooves and move your car around, and then just everything that goes along with having rubber buildup and heat in the track. I'm looking forward to it, maybe more than any other build in the history of iRacing.
You heard it here first. Your two-time champion is endorsing the new build before it even comes out. Ray Alfala finishing 5th here tonight at Darlington. And Tony, I think we've seen an excellent precursor to what we're going to see in 2 weeks' time.
I think you're exactly right, Joe. And yes, as we alluded to it, and some of the drivers have said, it'll be 2 weeks till the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series is on track here at the Lady in Black. Next week, it'll be the NASCAR Xfinity Series Class B cars once again from the 3/4 mile Richmond International Raceway. A little short tracking once again. Bang some fenders in. Final short track opportunity of the year for those machines. So anybody that has ticked you off, you get one final chance to give them a little bit of payback. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday night, 9 p.m., right here, same time, same channel. On behalf of Joe Cortez, Ian Bushy, Matt Thomas, Chuck Johnson, everybody at iRacing, Fans Choice, PSR TV, and the like, my name is Tony Stevens saying keep the shiny side up, the rubber side down. We'll see you next time right here on iRacing Night. Good night, everybody. Truex in the outside, contact made. 56 slides it into 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even. Give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.